Australia presents...
This is the ABC.
A production by the Film Division, Department of the Interior, for the Australian Broadcasting Commission.
The early morning staff are coming on to make up the news. There's a sub-editor over there. That teleprinter's been banging out cables and telegrams all night long. Wonderful, isn't it? But it's not all as simple as that. ABC Newsroom.
It seems strange now to realise that as recently as 1947, the ABC didn't have its own news service. Announcers used to read a maximum of 8 minutes a day from the newspapers.
This is the ABC broadcasting...
Australians have always looked to the ABC for entertainment, but these days, particularly in times of crisis, they look to ABC Radio for news and information, and that independent service is very important.
Today, within the radio division of the ABC, there are 5 different networks. In each of our 10 largest cities, Metropolitan stations broadcast to local communities. In country areas, an expanding network of transmitters broadcasts from nearly 50 separate regional stations. ABC's youth radio, Triple J, is broadcast in 9 city centres. ABC FM, Fine Music, recently extended to 50 transmitters. And Radio National brings its listeners the world of ideas with more and more transmitters coming on stream.
This is AM. I'm Peter Thompson.
President Bush has been very cleverly timed as the superpower summit.
The power of the radicals has not abated, and in fact both the hardliners and the moderates...
Around Australia, the highest rating and best known ABC radio stations are the Metropolitan stations. Here in Melbourne, it's 3LO. We compete directly with our commercial counterparts, aiming at being the quality alternative. With a solid base of news and current affairs programs, our appeal to Melbourne listeners is based on local personalities like Ramona Caval.
Thank you, Paul. Well, I think that because it's me who's doing the talking, and I've been doing it for 5 years, people get to know you, people get to know your voice, people expect me to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I become really a friend of the audience, and I have an obligation to be a true friend, I think. And my obligation is to be clear and fair and honest about the news of the day.
3LO, did you want to join the talkback?
We talk to and about the people and issues that interest Melbourne. That's all mixed in with up-to-date news, current affairs, sport and adult contemporary music.
The ABC news service is different to commercial news services. We are an independent service. We are the only independent service in this country. That means we rely only upon ourselves, our own judgment and our own research to present the facts. We can't pick up facts from anywhere else, lift them from other sources. We know the news we run has been thoroughly researched, and that lends us the credibility that we have.
Thanks very much, Neville Oliver. We'll be back to you shortly. You're listening to ABC Grandstand. Well, basically, the Grandstand Sports Show is on air for about 14 hours over the weekend, and we have to provide a fairly national and international show covering events as large as Olympic and Commonwealth Games, providing outpoints like the one we just had so that local areas can go and cover fully their local sport and the issues that are concerned in that area at that time.
ABC Radio with Rob Broadfield this morning. Well, it's time to knock off. Thanks for your company this morning, and especially thanks to those who joined us in the talkback around Australia. That was a lot of fun this morning, some pretty controversial subjects, especially...
ABC Regional Radio in Wagga is fairly typical of the growing number of regional radio stations. There's only 5 of us, though, who work here full-time at the moment. The 5 full-timers put the local content into our own local programs, plus we contribute to the state and national radio network, the Sound of Australia. Basically, we're here to serve the Riverina community, so we concentrate our on-air effort when most people are listening, which is from 6 until 11 a.m.
With Jim Booth.
Thanks, Rob, and we'll hear you again tomorrow morning from 1 a.m. right here on ABC Radio Riverina, FM 101.9 and 92.5 in the Tumbarumba district. Jim Booth with you now through until 7:45 this morning. Let's look at the weather details before the 6 a.m. news. At 8:30, it's our local current affairs program with James O'Brien and his producer Nicolette Jackson.
Refugee Service, who's in Wagga at the moment, talking about the plight of the 17 million refugees in the world today. It's 17 to 11. A new song for you now from Elton John from a CD called The One. This is Whitewash County.
The CD jukebox is a real time saver. Special issue CDs contain over 1,000 music tracks, the bulk of our music, and a computerised playlist ensures that tracks are rotated and that royalties are paid. Our new studios have a high profile in Wagga Wagga.
Yeah, George Wood Bradley Wagga Community Transport Service. We've just recently purchased a new Falcon car and we're looking for some volunteer drivers to drive it. I wonder if you could put...
Nicolette's with me now with today's diary. Nicolette, hello.
Hello, James.
And what have you got for us today?
Well, the Wagga Community Transport Service have got a second car, a Ford Falcon station wagon, and they can provide services to people with moderate to severe disabilities. Volunteer drivers are needed to drive the car and the bus, and drivers need to have an unblemished driving record.
Reporting on issues that affect the region's rural community is rural reporter David Dawson.
How important do you think it is to vaccinate?
It's extremely
Rounding out our team of 5 full-timers is journalist Fiona Halloran.
Jeff, construction of Wagga's flood-free crossing the Gobba Bridge is well underway, yet you have some concerns still. What are they?
Well, should we be looking at the substance...
On weekend mornings, part-timers like Barry Anderson present local gardening and sports programs. After our morning program, our efforts are backed up by high-profile national programs like The Country Hour and Australia All Over with Ian McNamara.
Here's a song about 2 Up.
Well, ABC Radio Riverina is a great service and we're very grateful for it, but we do need fine music in the country. I mean, the country doesn't have access to great orchestras, doesn't have access to good classical music in the way that the metropolitan centres do, and that's a very valuable service.
And the next piece in this morning's concert is the violin concerto Maninas, commissioned from Australian composer Ross Edwards by the ABC as part of Australia's bicentennial celebrations in 1988. Recording a live orchestral concert for stereo radio transmission is a very highly specialised skill. Every concert hall has its own acoustic characteristics, and each musical work requires a different choice and placement of microphones. Unlike some concerts, this one is not going direct to air. But producer David Hinder and technical producer Dennis Fox prepare for every concert as though it were going live to air, because of course once the baton is raised, there are no second takes.
It just rumbles on the recording. It sounds all right in the hall, but I just can't get enough.
I could ask the player to use harder sticks. Would that help?
That would help, yeah. I think we better get off stage.
As the national fine music broadcaster, ABC FM has a particular interest in Australian music and musicians. Concert performances by the 6 ABC symphony orchestras and other Australian musicians make up nearly 20% of the station's output.
The soloist is almost inaudible, but there'll be a lot more in a moment. It's nice. Blending now than it was in the Yes, we had a great success. Combination of Dean Olding and Nadeau Devart captivated the audience. And
This is the concert I'm putting to air on Saturday morning, isn't it?
It is. I've got an RDAT, and as well we have 6 analogue tapes as a
What am I
backup.
going to do with these? As well as concert music, ABC FM also plays jazz and contemporary music. There are programmes previewing the latest fine music CDs. Full details are published in the monthly 24 Hours magazine, together with feature articles backgrounding the arts in Australia. And ABC FM is proud that about 10% of the music it broadcasts is written by Australian composers. Right now on ABC FM Stereo, it's news time, 12 o'clock.
Virginia Small with ABC News. High youth unemployment was the focus of debate in federal parliament this week. The Prime Minister faced criticism that his government is responsible for the worst overall jobless rate since the Great Depression.
That's the news on ABC FM. the same story is told a different way for the Triple J audience.
Oh, I'm going to see Tumbleweed again tonight. Oh, yeah.
Hello, Lorena Allen here with the Triple J News. Well, it seems Australia's tragic unemployment figures are finally being debated in the Big House on the Hill in Canberra.
Can you believe that?
The main headache for the Prime Minister, though, is carrying the blame for the worst jobless figures since the 30s.
Good morning, Australia. Michael Tunn here with you, and we've got a whole heap of new music coming up for you this hour, including a track from our feature album, the L7's new thing. Also, new In Excess, new Happy Heads, new Cure, new Hunters and Collectors, and this new thing.
Hello, Triple J. Randy Newman? No, we don't actually get a lot of requests for Randy Newman. But short people. No, we haven't got short people. No, anything else you want? Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. No, we don't think we've got that one in our record library. Okay, bye.
And that's definitely a film to go and see. It deals big body blows to the boys in big business, and it's about as wild as you're ever going to see on the big screen.
And now it's time on the World Music Show to tell you about some international tours coming up. First up, we have from South Africa, Lucky Dube. And the Lion of Cameroon is coming soon, Manu Dibango. Let's move on. This is the World Music Show, Triple J.
Coming up in today's program, there are fears that legislation currently before federal parliament could attempt to restrict what we hear in the news. And to the States, there's been an important new development in the fight against AIDS. But back home in Adelaide, rock and roll is coming to the rescue of young people who have nowhere to live. There are a few options for the homeless young in Adelaide, which is something the city's heavy metal heads want to change. Those stories and more coming up soon, but let's hear from those heavy metal heads in question.
Just a digitalised as I live and breathe. What such a rich occasion.
Well, I mean, you want me to talk about Radio National? How long have we got? I mean, this is the problem with Radio National. It's like value-added radio, in my view.
The thing about Radio National is the well-kept secret, Philip.
I listened to Radio National for years. A devoted listener. Listening to Robin Williams doing science programs, Carolyn Jones on matters spiritual, Norman Swan on health. And I didn't know it was Radio National. I knew it was the ABC. But I didn't know it was this special, separate
Radio National does actually ask questions about things that we may not know. And actually, that is very rare. And I
Yes, I mean, the fact that it is a national network. We're going to people in Broome, in Burnie, in Broken Hill. The great thing about it, we're doing national stories, national issues, international issues, and it's great to be able to focus on the big picture.
It's a much more civilised context, isn't it?
And the other amazing thing to realise is that it's done at a fraction of the cost. So, I mean, I think we cost about 1/10 of the equivalent programs the BBC produces.
Only through great personal self-sacrifice from the three of us, really. And of course, it's our job, we're the so-called gateway broadcasters, it's our job to cast a wider net and to lure people into listening to the specialist programs. And that's, I think, the real guts of Radio National. We're frivolous, we're trivial. It's those real focused programs of expertise and authority that I think are the best thing about RadNet, as we know it affectionately.
Once they've discovered us, they can't leave us alone.
Once you start listening to it, it's very hard to turn off it. When you discover it, I think I discovered it about 3 or 4 years ago. Well, I suppose it's like having a subscription to all the best journals in Australia and overseas, for that matter.
4 million listeners a week tune into one or more of the 5 ABC radio networks, distinctly different networks offering a choice to the people of Australia. But ABC Radio offers more. It supports and trains independent Aboriginal broadcasters in both urban and remote communities such as Kununurra, Halls Creek and Thursday Island. World-leading technology like Descartes, developed by ABC Radio, has been sold to broadcasters overseas. ABC shops and centres, well known and well stocked with cassettes, hundreds of books and music recordings from classical to rock. Telephone services for news and programmes. Within 10 years, digital broadcasting will improve reception quality, Pay audio services will offer even greater choice, and RDS will mean that travellers' car radios will automatically stay tuned to the strongest signal from the station selected, no matter where they drive.
The goals for ABC Radio are clearly defined with specific briefs and performance targets for each network and for each program. All of ABC Radio's output is regularly reviewed to ensure it continues to meet the changing needs of audiences with high-quality, cost-efficient programming. A continuing aim of ABC Radio is to reflect the diversity of Australia's population in our workforce.
Over recent years, ABC Radio has had to do more with less, but just as well, because increasingly Australians are turning to the ABC for its reliability, its impartiality and its independence.
Well, that's all for now. So until tomorrow, I'll say good night, everyone.